Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Hope everyone's having a lovely day and that you had a chance to check out the video yesterday. If you could also do me a favor, just check to make sure that you are still subscribed. If you haven't yet, make sure that your notifications are turned on, and please consider at the end of this video liking and sharing it so that we can break through the algorithm. Well, guys, we've got some interesting stuff to go over today in relation to the posts from our favorite Anon. We've got a little clip of Steve Bannon speaking with Maria Bartiromo. We've got an update on Navy Secretary Mark Esper. He was fired for dishonesty and undermining the military justice system and for lack of candor. Plus, we have a quote from Kevin Clinesmith. "I have initiated the destruction of the Republic." It's pretty transparent there what he was looking to do. And also, it looks like way back when, Barry said that he would intervene to stop the nomination of Bernie Sanders, and stop it he did. So we've got all this and more, and we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsor. Here's the reality. Emergencies usually strike without warning. We're surprised when the electricity goes out or gets turned off by the power company, or when the stock market crashes, and certainly with earthquakes, there's zero warning. Things happen and you just don't expect it. And when it's breaking news, it's too late to prepare, and now you're in a panicked scramble. You should act while things are calm. Ask yourself, could you feed yourself for several weeks with the food you have at home at this very moment? If not, it's time to build an emergency food supply. I trust and use My Patriot Supply, and you should too. A 2-week food kit gets you started. This week, save $70 on these food kits when you go to my special website, preparewithredpill78.com. These food kits include meals that last up to 25 years in storage, and they arrive fast with guaranteed 2-day delivery right to your door. Those that know what's coming are using today to prepare. Go to preparewithredpill78.com. That's preparewithredpill78.com. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around. First of all, you may or may not have heard that it looks like the suspected chemical weapons attack back in Syria, which precipitated a strike on a very particular base there, which we speculated at that time had absolutely nothing to do with the Syrian regime, was in fact a hoax. Looks like the Syrian government never actually perpetuated this chemical attack. And we knew back then that this wasn't real. This was just a way that the deep state was trying to get President Trump to go in and strike hard in Syria. Well, it looks like it's come out that this actually truly never did happen. Methods reminds us here, mainstream media and Dems heavily pushed this back then as fact. From our favorite Anon post 1106, Syria, hold until confirmed. Military assets on the ground, locked out of green zone. Israel strike harmed ability to prove events. Clown report must be verified. Troop unwind to still occur. Have faith, trust, POTUS. Troop unwind did in fact occur. Good news for us, good news for the Republic. Enemy of the people. That would be the media. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this very enlightening clip from Tucker Carlson.
It didn't seem possible that there could have been a gas attack because the levels were just the same as in the natural environment.
Well, I'm confused by 2 points. So first, we were told, and again, sternly lectured, that the U.S. government had absolute evidence that this gas attack took place, A. B, if OPCW knew that there wasn't actually evidence, why did it take a whistleblower to tell the rest of us?
Well, on the first point, I mean, they just rushed. It was rushed to judgment. The missile strikes, which included British and French missiles as well as the American ones, happened about 2 or 3 days after the alleged gas attack, when no inspectors had been on the ground. There was no evidence on the ground, so it was just fabricated, as it were. The reason to go in, it was a rush to judgment. But the second point is that there was no real reason why Assad would make an attack at this stage, because he was already capturing most of Douma and was about to capture the rest of it. He didn't need to go in for a chemical gas attack at that stage.
We've been lied to. We've been manipulated. We knew it at the time. Thanks so much for coming on tonight.
We knew it then, we knew it now. That supposed attack was faked by the White Helmets, and there was absolutely no reason for Assad to strike a chemical weapons attack at that time, because he was gaining the upper hand over the people in Syria that were attempting to overthrow him. Once again, mainstream media getting caught in their lies, a whistleblower coming forward to state that there absolutely was no chemical attack. We are vindicated. Now, I've stated several times that the whole goal was to get to the impeachment trial in the Senate. Steve Bannon and Maria Bartiromo are here talking on Sunday Morning Futures. This was put in a post by our favorite Anon, and I think that the segment we're going to hear right now perfectly illustrates exactly why we want this Senate impeachment trial, even though it's completely disintegrated for the Dems.
Highly partisan vote. And we've never had that on any impeachment, just a highly partisan vote to try to impeach the president. That, to me, kicks off 2020 in a great way for the president.
And then the other thing you just said is, should this go to a trial in the Senate, then Lindsey Graham and company are going to be getting people to go down and testify. Already, Lindsey Graham says that he wants Michael Horowitz to testify. You're saying Hunter Biden will be down there. This is going to open up a can of worms.
Listen, this is why it gets back to the substance. You're going to have one later in your show, Congressman Stefanik. Under the very limited rules that the Republicans had, she basically was able to I think, field strip some of the testimony by asking tough questions that demanded simple answers. If you think you go to a trial where you've actually got Donald Trump able to, and he calls it an affirmative defense, and you know when Trump goes on offense, it's tough. And I think you're going to see guys called and witnesses brought up that are going to just blow the Democrats out, including, I think there will be a huge effort to have Joe Biden come before the Senate and actually give testimony of why, as vice president, forget running for president, why, as vice president, he allowed American crony capitalism, which everybody's been fighting, to actually get involved in this corrupt situation in Ukraine.
This is exactly why we want this Senate impeachment trial. Trump is not going to back down. They've taken it all the way to the bank, and now they're going to have to pull out their checkbooks, because right here, with these guys being forced to testify to answer these very tough questions under the rules that the Republicans will be setting up, it's going to be an absolute crap show for these guys. They will not be able to recover. As Steve Bannon said, this brings President Trump into 2020 at such an incredible advantage. Already, the Democrats have lost the support of most of America. And I'm not talking 49%, 52%. I'm talking the vast majority of Americans do not support this impeachment witch hunt. Russia collusion part 2 with Ukraine. It's the Democrats. It's always been the Democrats. Now, I said yesterday, partisanship is, ridiculous, that there is no left and right, and that still holds true. But right now, it's the Democrats who are running this show against the president. It has people on both sides of the aisle who are traitors, people who are against President Trump on the left, people who are against President Trump on the right. But when it comes down to it, the Democrats are leading this charge, and it is the Democrats who will be taken out. Now, just a couple of quick posts here. Post 3630, Make Iran Great Again. This is taken from the active revolution that is taking place right now. Restart, Make Iran Great Again. Look at that. MAGA, together we are strong. Look, this is global. And then next, a Q supporter in South Korea, post 3631, We Stand United. Where we go one, we go all. Absolutely incredible. And then we have a collage of the media's obsession with our favorite Anon, and this is a snippet from a Clowns in America memo on its media strategy. Let's take a look. So here is that collage of all of these various articles talking about how the media is obsessed with a supposed LARP. And it uses a lot of the very same things over and over again. And look at that. There is Douglas Belmore, their Mesa College fires professor who promoted QAnon conspiracy theory. Doug, you are an American hero. Let's take a look at the next slide. So here is that Clowns in America memo. It says the agency's posture towards the media is basically defensive, reactive, and tongue-tied. What we say is this: no comment. That disclosure was wrong and outrageous. Next, we wring our hands, send emissaries out to bring key people in the administration and Congress and correct the record, then hunker back awaiting the next blow. Maybe it's time for an offensive as well as a defensive and an attempt to get things in better balance. Here are some personal thoughts as to do's and don'ts on this score. This was from a secret classified memo, and I think that this shows right here that rather than wringing their hands and denying, they just decided to infiltrate the media and basically control it. And then they wouldn't have to worry about answering any questions that they didn't want to answer, any pesky questions from reporters who wanted to get to the truth. No, they just figured we will become the media, and then we've got nothing to worry about. Then in post 3633, list of military intelligence acronyms, we've got AFIA, AIA, DIA, ESC, ITAC, NOIC, NPIC, NSA, and SRD. A couple of those stood out as obvious to me. NSA, National Security Agency, DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. Well, I went and did a little bit digging, and I found what I believe all of these are, and let's go over them. Starting at the top with the Air Force Inspection Agency. Here is the badge for the AFIA. Next, we've got the United States Army Intelligence and Security Command, and this badge sure looks familiar. That has been posted before. That's for INSCOM. Then we've got the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and there is the badge for the DIA. Then we've got the 13th Sustainment Command, Expeditionary. That would be the Expeditionary Sustainment Command, ESC. Next, I believe, is the Intelligence and Threat Assessment Center. Now, I couldn't find any specific information on that, but there is the National Threat Assessment Center, which falls under the United States Secret Service. Then we've got the Office of Naval Intelligence. Then we've got the National Photographic Interpretation Center, and there's the badge for that. Now, that falls under the Geospatial Intelligence Agency. They deal with satellite imagery, so this would be interpreting photographs taken by those satellites. Then, of course, we have the Wizards and Warlocks at the National Security Agency. Then we've got the SRD, Services Reconnaissance Department. This is an inter-allied service department. They're basically special operations that are between Western nations. Now, this one is the only one I'm not completely sure on, because it looks like this was an agency that was active during World War II, and it has to do with Australia. My friend Sombrero Blanco says that this is for Allied Special Forces, but again, I can only find something in relation to Australia with World War II, also ties in Britain. So if there's anyone who has any information as to what SRD could stand for today, or back up this particular crumb, I would really appreciate it. Now, unless this is pointing to the fact that Australia is somehow helping out with this operation, I'm not certain that this one is correct, and I'm putting out a request to anybody who might have some information on what SRD could stand for in today's world. Now, bringing it back finally to here. Remember that IP address, 111118. So this was at Cheney Lake in Kansas, and this was a DoD information center. Now, I'm sure you guys remember DoD Network Information Center. This is an IP address used by the Department of Defense. Now, what all of these agencies have in common is that they are all under military command. Why would our favorite Anon post all of them in a single post? Well, myself and my friends in my little research group, we were thinking that all of them are perhaps the various military agencies that are somehow involved in some way with this operation. And 111118 could be their own private comms. They would certainly have their very own encrypted information channel through which they would communicate, and it could very easily be routed through this IP address right here. Now, my good friend Sombrero Blanco sent over this piece of information here. I've actually shown it before, but the Army unit crest of the 321st Military Intelligence Battalion is this little guy right here, From Darkness to Light. So I think this adds just a little bit of credence to the idea that our favorite Anon and the team are all part of the same military intelligence network. I think we now know who is involved, and I think we know exactly how they communicate. Now, the last part of this is the idea that the new 8chan, 8kun is operating also using this very same IP address. Perhaps they were given, when Jim Watkins went to Congress, perhaps they were given their very own encrypted channel in which they could use to send information specifically for the boards, and it would also allow for all of these various intelligence agencies to sift through all of that intelligence and see it. Remember, we were told that we were part of a digital army. You guys, is this the interview? Is this actually the digital army in action? And is it being routed through this DoD channel? I think it's a good question. Now, we learned yesterday that Navy Secretary Mark Esper was having some trouble following the chain of command. Well, he was specifically fired for dishonesty and undermining the military justice system, and also for lack of candor. Fired Secretary of the Navy Richard Spencer lashed out at the president in an interview with CBS News on the steps of the Pentagon Monday evening. Spencer, who mutinied against President Trump over his order to not kick Chief Petty Officer Eddie Gallagher out of the Navy SEALs, also attacked Trump in his letter acknowledging his firing this past weekend over the Gallagher case. Fox News national security reporter Jennifer Griffin revealed a little more background on Secretary Esper's firing this past weekend. Now, according to her military sources, Esper was fired for dishonest and undermining the military justice system and for lying. Now, this is text right here from a tweet thread by Jennifer, and it says, U.S. official tells me when Secretary of the Navy went to White House to ask POTUS to let Navy Review Board go forward, he promised the board would in the end allow Gallagher to keep his trident and rank. In other words, he promised to fix the results of the board, which is usually a board of peers. I am told Navy Secretary Spencer blindsided Defense Secretary Esper and General Mark Milley, who had gone to the White House to defend the Navy decision and to ask the Trident Review Board to be allowed to proceed. White House then told them about the back deal Spencer tried to cut, which did not give them what Spencer had told the Defense Secretary and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It also was counter to Spencer's public statements. In other words, Spencer was not honest with them or the public, so Esper asked for his resignation. In the end, Navy Secretary Richard Spencer was not fired for standing up for military justice, but for dishonesty and undermining the military justice system, according to a senior U.S. official. He was fired for lack of candor. The official statement says Esper then decided that given all of the messy issues surrounding Chief Eddie Gallagher's case, that it would be impossible for him to get a fair hearing from military, so he has decided to allow him to keep his trident and retire at his current rank from the Navy. I'm told by Navy source that they can't see a world where they go forward with the other 3 SEAL peer review board hearings. We need to move on. Very good news for the chain of command. I'm very glad to hear that Richard Spencer is no longer the Secretary of the Navy, and I salute you, Eddie Gallagher. Well, some more news about Kevin Clinesmith, the FBI lawyer who falsified the FISA data. This looks like a quote from him. I have initiated the destruction of the Republic. Apparently, the adulterous attorney Kevin Clinesmith said this after the first Carter Page FISA app originated. Oh, bummers, FBI became the place where corrupt actors had promiscuous affairs, ignored crimes from those they liked, prosecuted made-up and fraudulent crimes from those they disliked, and ruined lives ruthlessly in the process. It will take years, if ever, to mend the reputation of today's FBI. One set of FBI lovers have been in the news for the past few years. This disgusting couple, creepy Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, reportedly maintained an affair while letting Hillary Clinton off of all charges related to her email crimes. They then used taxpayer-funded dollars to text each other on their FBI phones and email each other on their FBI laptops about their affair while on company time. Then they became the key players in the greatest scandal in U.S. history. The Mueller Special Counsel. Now a second set of lovers is in the news, Kevin Clinesmith and Sally Moyer. The Washington Post reported over the weekend that a former FBI attorney altered information that supported a FISA warrant that was used to spy on candidate and President Trump. Now, deep state actors are trying to minimize the actions of this new set of Mueller gang lovers who attempted a coup on President Trump's administration. The WAPO reported this weekend, and it was quickly uncovered that former Mueller gang members Kevin Clinesmith was involved in altering documents used to obtain a FISA warrant to legitimize spying on candidate and then President Trump. The WAPO claims this will be coming out in the upcoming IG report in December. We know Clinesmith was mentioned in the IG's Clinton email report. Attorney 2 from that report was identified by House member Mark Meadows as Kevin Clinesmith. Meadows revealed his identity over the objection of the FBI during a hearing on the IG's findings. The FBI wanted to keep Clinesmith's name anonymous, claiming he was a counterintelligence specialist. Horowitz testified that the FBI was withholding the names of the other rogue agents from Congress and the public because they work on counterintelligence and can't be exposed. But Meadows argued that the other agents for the FBI's Office of Legal Counsel are no longer in counterintelligence as the FBI claimed. They don't work in counterintelligence, Meadows said in an exchange with Horowitz. If that's the reason the FBI is giving, they're giving you false information because they work for the general counsel. Clinesmith was caught texting anti-Trump emails while working on the Hillary and Trump investigations. Clinesmith sent a number of pro-Clinton, anti-Trump political messages over the FBI's computer system, which the report said raised concerns about potential bias that may have impacted the investigation, you think? On page 445 of the DOJ's IG report on Hillary Clinton's emails, there's a discussion of what attorney number 2, Kevin Clinesmith, from the FBI texted on October 28, 2016. Among the general discussion of political issues by FBI Attorney 2, we identified 3 instant message exchanges that raised concerns of potential bias. The first of these was on October 28th, shortly after Comey's October 28th letter to Congress that effectively announced the reopening of the mid-year investigation. FBI Attorney 2 sent similar messages to 4 different FBI employees. The timestamps of these messages are included below. First, he sent this to FBI Employee 1, I never really liked the Republic anyway. To FBI Employee 2, I never really liked the Republic anyway, just repeating himself. To FBI Employee 3, as I have initiated the destruction of the Republic, would you be so kind as to have a coffee with me this afternoon? And finally, to FBI Employee 4, I'm clinging to small pockets of happiness in the dark time of the Republic's destruction. Absolutely incredible. He didn't just say it once, he said it 4 different ways. Notice that the IG's report notes that this is the same time Comey initiated the second review of Hillary's emails after finding them on pervert Anthony Weiner's laptop. But what the IG does not say, perhaps because they did not know it at the time, is that this is right after the initial FISA application to spy on Page and President Trump was initiated. On November 9th, the day after the 2016 election, Clinesmith texted a fellow FBI associate, my GD name is all over the legal documents investigating Trump's staff. Now, according to Jeff Carlson at The Market's Work, we know that the actual dates of the FISA applications were from a February 28th, 2018 Grassley letter to Inspector General Horowitz. So on October 21st, 2016, there's the initial FISA application. January 12th of 2017, there's the first renewal. April 7th of 2017, the second renewal. And on June 29th of 2017, the third renewal. It was a week after the first fraudulent FISA warrant was issued in an effort to legitimize spying on candidate Trump and the future 45th president of the United States that creepy Clinesmith texted, I never really liked the Republic anyways. This wasn't the end of Clinesmith. He next was invited on the Mueller gang, where he harassed young George Papadopoulos. According to Paul Sperry at Real Clear Politics, a junior member of the Trump Foreign Policy Advisory Team in 2016, Papadopoulos was approached by FBI agents in Chicago, where he lived with his mother after the election, while waiting for what he hoped would be an offer to join the new administration. The agents said they just wanted to talk to him about contacts he'd made with people in London during the campaign. He spoke to them without a lawyer or the benefit of notes, emails, or a calendar to refresh his recollection. A decision he would later regret. One of the interviews was run by FBI lawyer Kevin Clinesmith, who was later pulled off Mueller's team after the Inspector General exposed his anti-Trump text messages. Clinesmith zeroed in on Papadopoulos' conversation with a supposedly Kremlin-tied diplomat in London, none other than Joseph Mifsud. The New York Times reported this weekend that the FISA document that was altered by Clinesmith was a renewal document. This may or may not be true based on the fact that the fake news New York Times reported it. Whether Clinesmith altered the first FISA warrant or a subsequent renewal, the facts are clear. Clinesmith and his gang of creepy, promiscuous fellow FBI gangsters knew from the start that their efforts to push through the Carter Page FISA application to spy on Donald Trump was fraudulent and criminal. But then again, they never liked the Republic anyway. This is absolutely incredible. If you ever had any doubts about how these people felt about maintaining our republic, about freedom, about democracy, then this should tell you everything you need to know right here. They only care about themselves and their own wicked ends. This guy needs to get his. And finally, apparently Barry warned he would intervene to stop Bernie Sanders. Former President Barry Obama once warned he would step in to stop Bernie Sanders from securing the Democratic presidential nomination, according to a new report. Obama reportedly vowed to speak out against the Vermont socialist Sanders if it appeared as if he could actually win, Politico reported. Back when Sanders seemed more like a threat than he does now, Obama said privately that if Bernie were running away with the nomination, Obama would speak up to stop him, Politico wrote. An Obama spokesperson, however, reportedly noted that the former president has stated that he would get behind the Democratic nominee regardless of who it is. One advisor said that while they personally had no knowledge of this, the threat of a Sanders nomination would likely be a cause for action. I can't really confirm that, the advisor said, regarding the possibility of Barry trying to stop Sanders. He hasn't said that directly to me. The only reason I'm hesitating at all is because, yeah, if Bernie were running away with it, I think maybe we would all have to say something, but I don't think that's likely. It's not happening. This aversion to Sanders would be in line with Barry's recent comments. At an Obama Foundation Summit event in October, Obama took aim at political wokeness and cancel culture. The idea of purity and you're never compromised and you're always politically woke and all that stuff, you should get over that quickly, Barry said. Barry also had some disparaging things to say about his old partner, Joe Biden. The former president has been meeting with hopefuls in his Washington, D.C. offices for months. Ostensibly, the meetings are for the aspiring candidates to gain some wisdom and the last Democrat to win an open presidential primary in the presidency, but they also allow Obama to collect his own intelligence about what he and his closest advisors have made clear is all that matters to him: who can beat Donald Trump. Sometimes he offers candid advice about his visitors' strengths and weaknesses. With several lesser-known candidates, according to people who have talked to him or been briefed on his meetings, he was blunt about the challenges of breaking out of a large field. His advice is not always heeded. He told former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick earlier this year it was likely too late for him to secure money and talent if he jumped in the race. Occasionally, he's been cutting. With one candidate, he pointed out that during his own 2008 campaign, he had an intimate bond with the electorate, especially in Iowa, that he no longer has. Then he added, and you know who really doesn't have it? Joe Biden. In April, when Biden announced he would be running for the Democratic nomination, Barry issued a statement through spokeswoman Katie Hill. President Obama has long said that selecting Joe Biden as his running mate in 2008 was one of the best decisions he ever made. He relied on the vice president's knowledge, insight, and judgment throughout both campaigns and the entire presidency. The two forged a special bond that over the last 10 years and have remained close today. The statement was notably lacking a formal endorsement. Biden, though, said he had personally asked Barry not to issue an endorsement. I asked President Obama not to endorse, and he doesn't want to. Listen, whoever wins this nomination should win it on their own merits, he said when asked by reporters why Obama had not endorsed him. The New York Times also reported that Barry quietly urged Biden not to run. The two men spoke at least a half a dozen times before Mr. Biden decided to run, and Mr. Obama took pains to cast his doubts about the campaign in personal terms, the Times wrote in a piece headlined, Barry and Biden's relationship looks rosy. It wasn't always that simple. You don't have to do this, Joe. You really don't, Mr. Obama told Mr. Biden earlier this year, according to a person familiar with the exchange. Well, it looks like Barry is hip to the same thing that all of us are. Joe Biden has absolutely no chance of winning this 2020 election. If he gets the nomination above all of these other Democrats in this very crowded field, I think that it's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel. Well, we were told to learn their comms, and I think by now most of us are on board. I think it's pretty interesting to see, essentially amounts to a flow chart telling us who is involved and how they are going about speaking with each other. And it's also really cool to think that 8kun is actually running on a DoD network. And I find it fascinating to see that the people who are looking to overthrow our president so clearly have a level of disrespect for the Republic that they would joke about destroying it. All right, guys, that's all the time I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, it's Red Pill. I just wanted to say one more thing. Thank you very much to all my patrons. Thank you to everyone who supports this channel. If anyone wants to help out, there are links in the description of this video below. Please make sure to subscribe to my backup channels in case anything happens here. I will begin publishing there. And if you guys have any questions or tips for me, please send me an email at redpill78@protonmail.com. Also, don't forget to make sure that you have notifications turned on for this channel. When you go to my channel page, there is a little bell. Click that bell and choose all notifications. And if you don't have one already, go sign up on Twitter and follow me there and make sure that your notifications are on. Because even if you don't get a notification from YouTube, I always have a notification that goes out on my Twitter page that lets you know every time I put out a new video. I look forward to reading your messages. I look forward to getting the news to you on a daily basis. And I look forward to seeing you all again in the next episode.